Okay, this is a continuation of previous video. Configuring firewall rule-based management. So this is the first talk. So we are going to see configuring firewall rules using Windows Firewall. So your firewall protects your computer from unauthorized access by users or application outside of your corporate network. To make the firewall effective, you need to define edit firewall rules. So these rules analyze the packet coming to the computer or network and compare whether the specific conditions are satisfied, and then allow deny access to the computer or network accordingly. So Windows Firewall applications enable you to configure and edit firewall rules. So in this task we are going to see how to create a firewall rule using Windows Firewalls and verify the efficiency in managing access to the computer. Okay, let's go for the practice lab. So we are now going to check the ping command. So right now I am in the domain control, so Windows Server domain control. So first we need to check the Windows machine is up. So Windows machine plab. So I'm going to I'm going to ping this from domain control to make sure the Windows 10 machine is up. So the connection is up already. So we will now go back to the Windows 10 machine. So this is a Windows 10 machine. So in the Windows 10 machine, so we need to open Windows Firewall. So in the Windows Firewall, so you can notice here, so the firewall is off, is turned off already. So I'm going to, if the change setting is enabled, you have to click here to modify anything, to edit the firewall rules. So I have to remove this, the firewall and ping sharing. Then click OK. So you will now turn on the firewall. You can see the firewall is turned on already. So now you can check the ping command from Windows domain server control. So domain control server. So this is a domain control server. We can now check the ping command. So you can now see that the ping command shows the timeout, request timeout. So in these features we have tested the ping command. So how to enable, how to remove the feature to stop the ping command. So the result is is not pinging. So we can now reconfigure the firewall rule. So you can easily edit the firewall rules once the configure successfully. So you can anytime you can reconfigure. So you can just access the firewall settings as you do create on the Windows server. So now we go back to the Windows workstation. So this is a Windows workstation. You can just click there, then file sharing, and then click file sharing on. So we can now check the same ping command here after enabling. So it's now back, the connection, the ping command is working, the connection is just receiving the request. So you can notice here the domain controls receive the response from Windows 10 So this verifies that reconfiguring firewall rules to allow file and print access to the pinging server is effective. So we can now close this. Task is completed. So we're going to see the second task, configuring firewall rules using Windows Firewall with advanced security. So Windows versions including the Vista 2008 server, and then later, so it just provide another built-in application for system security, so Windows firewalls with advanced security. So these applications offers an expansive view of firewall security and has additional features compared to the scaled down version of firewall in Windows XP, is a older version. So in this task we are going to see here, so how to create the firewall rules using Windows firewalls with advanced security and verify the efficiency in securing the computer. So let's go for it. So the first one's verify the connection. So connection between two computers on a network is live if the computers can exchange data like sending ping commands with each other over the connections, what we did last task, the previous task. So to verify whether the connection is live, so it's same as we do the ping command. So we are going, this is a domain control, so we are going to now check the same command, because this is a task 2, so I'm going to make sure the verify. So the connection is on. Now you can, on the domain controls, so the workstation's connection is on. So we are now going to open the network sharing. For that, just right click here, otherwise so this is straightforward. So just go to the open network and sharing centers. So now here you can now click the Windows Firewall. So you can notice that the firewall is now active already for all 3 network profiles. So you can see domain networks and private network, desktop, public network. So you can just leave it here. Now we can go back to the Windows 10. So this is a Windows 10 machine. Yes, this is a Windows 10 machine. Now go command. So we can now check the connection, the ping command from Windows 10 to DC. So main domain control. Ping PLAD. So the connection is up. The domain control get the ping request from the Windows 10. So now we can create the rule using the Windows Firewall with advanced security. For that we need to create the firewall rule using Windows Firewall with advanced security. So go to that Windows Firewall. So we can now connect back to the domain control, because we are checking the both way connection that is pinging already. So we are now go back to the Windows domain control. So this is a Windows domain control. So here we now open that Windows Firewall with advanced security. Here just double click. Here you can see that inbound rule. So in the inbound rules pans in the middle of these Windows displays, you can here see the details of various firewall inbound rules. Just scroll down here, just find the file and printer sharing. here you can see the file and print sharing echo request. So you can now you can also double click or right click or property. You will see that window here. So here, so on the file and printer sharing properties dialog box, so you can see here general tab. So click the general tab, and then you can click the block the connections and the action sections. You can click the block connections. So then you can click apply button. Clicking the apply button, so you can now see that the icon is changed here, the file and print sharing. So leave this window as it is. We can now test the firewall rule. So because the firewall rule created using any Windows application are equally effective, so we can now going to test the effective of the rule that we created using the Windows Firewall with the advanced security feature. For that, just go to ping, switch back to the Windows 10 server, so the workstations, Windows 10. So we will now try to ping the same thing. So you can now notice that ping request is timeout. So there is no response from domain control server. So therefore, we can conclude that the firewall rule is effective. So I can now leave this command prompt as it is. So we now go back to the domain control. So we are going to reconfigure the firewall rule. So what we did last task in the Windows. So the same thing we have to do in domain server. So the server wise. For that, we have to go back to the domain control server. So there in the Windows Firewall advanced setting rules. So the same thing, we can now allow the connections and then apply. You can now here see that the tick mark. So now you can switch back to Windows 10. So ping command, yeah. So this one is working. So that's it for this task 2. The task 3 is we are going to see the configuring firewall rule using remote desktop. So the remote desktop is built-in feature of Windows XP and later version. So remote desktop enables you to set up your connections with any remote computing device on your network such that you can access the desktop of the computer and operate its resource as if they were local on your computer. So although similar to the VPN connections, a remote desktop connections gives you more control over the resource of the remote device. So first we are going to set up a remote session. Let's go for it. So you can now set up a remote connection to connect to and to operate a computer on the network. So but present at a geographical remote location. So you can then use the session to create a firewall rule. So in this class we are going to see how we will set up a remote session with the Windows 10 computer and accessing the domain control server computer. So okay. So for that, the step 1. So we are now in a Windows 10 workstation, domain member workstation. You can now type remote. So the remote desktop connection, double click. So we can now type here the domain control server host name. Please wait while the remote connection is being set up. So this may take few seconds. So let's wait for time. Okay, it's now connected. So you can now notice so the domain control is displayed here of the Windows 10 computers. So we can now verify this by the domain control. So for that, can now type here, you can see. So you can see here domain control. So the remote connection is successfully established now. So we can access the desktop as well as the resource of the remote computer as if they are available to you locally on your computer. So you can also use this connection to create firewall rules on the remote computer. So we are going to create the firewall rule to block the domain control computer from responding any ping request. So how do we create that? So in the domain control here, you can also just right click and open open network. Here we can now go to that Windows advanced settings. The advanced settings inbound. So we're doing the same step as we did the last task. Then file, and then double click, file and printer. So then block the connection and apply. So you can now see here so we can now check remotely. So we are now check the ping command from Windows 10 to see the response. So whether we sorry, there is a small typo. Okay, can see the request timeout. So the ping request is timed out. So this confirms that connection is blocked as per firewall rule created using the remote sessions. So we can do the same thing, reconfigure through remote session. So we can now going to test, try again. Okay, so we can now close these connections. So the connection request is successful, the ping request is successful. So that's it. So we can now close the remote connection. So the next we are going to see the last one, configuring rules from the command line interface. So command line interface, for short CLI, so is one of the method of communicating with operating systems or other software such as applications. In this command line interface, you issue commands and receive response in the format of text lines, delineated from each other by command prompts. Command line interface are powerful and can achieve more with each command because they communicate with the software directly. On the other hand, the command line interface commands are not intuitive, and you must remember the command, the syntax, and the context to use them correctly. So we can now, let's go for it. So we can now verify the blocked ping packet. So we can use the command line commands to configure firewall on a computer to test the effectiveness of the firewall rule created. So we must first confirm the current state of the computer. So in this class we are going to see the verify the all incoming ping packets to the domain control computer or blocked. So to confirm that to confirm the incoming ping packets domain control to domain control or blocked, so we have to perform this. We need to connect the domain control servers. So we now go back to the domain control. So this is a domain control server. So we can now right click. So when you open, so this is the same thing. This window is open, network and sharing security. Here you have to click the same process, the Windows Firewall. So on the Windows Firewall, confirm the firewall is active. We have to make sure the firewall. So okay, we have to make sure here the firewall is turned off, turned on, or turned off. We can make sure here. So then follow the same process, advanced settings, incoming, and then file sharing, file printer sharing ecosystem in the block. Can now minimize here. We are now in the domain control. Okay. Now connect back to the Windows server. So switch back to the Windows server. This is Windows server. So we can now ping PLABDC01. So the ping request is timed out. There is no response from domain control server. So this confirms the incoming packet pillups are blocked. The domain control is blocked. So we are going to now configure the firewall using command line prompts, command line interface commands. For that, so we have to switch back to the domain control. So this is a domain control server. So this is a domain control server. Here, right click, command prompt, admin here. So you need to run as administrator. There you have to type this command. Net as such, set all profile state off. You can just make sure if there is any typo, you will get this error message. So net as such ADV advanced firewall set all profile. There is a space in between set and all, so there is no space. So here all profiles state off. So you can now notice here the click OK, the response successfully done. So this informs you that firewall is switched off from for all the network profile on domain control. So we can now minimize. So after define the firewall rule, we are going to verify the efficiency of firewall rule. So in this task we are going to test on domain control, so the computers whether the computer is switched off. So we can now right click on the network icon, network here, sorry, right click, just double check, so Windows Firewall. So we can see here last time it was turned on, so after perform this command, after run this command, is turned off. So this is how we can use command line interface commands to turn off. So we can now check, we can now switch back to Windows 10. So this is Windows 10. So just double checks domain control is, we can receive, see, you can see the request, the command receive the response from domain control. So although the connections to the file printer sharing is blocked because we turned off the firewall. So this is because the command line command switch off the firewall. So the next task, we can now switch back and then reconfigure again. So we're now going to reconfigure the firewall using the command line interface on domain control server. So this is domain control once again. So just the same command, but there is a small change on. You can now notice here this command is successfully completed. You will now check the same command which is open already. Let me double check. Just close it. This one no needed. No needed. Okay. You can now notice here is already turned on all the settings. So now you can switch back to the Windows 10 and then run the same command. So you can now notice that request is timed out. So this is because the firewall is now switched on using the command line command prompt. I mean the command line commands, and the firewall rules configured for individual service are not effective. Okay guys, that's it for this video. So we will see you on later video, more topic on later video. So please subscribe my channel, press the bell button, share the videos if you like. See you, bye bye.